Philly Godfather here from the PhillyGodfather.com, and Follow the Action is back with our UFC special. We got Gotham City Vig, Batman on. We got Atlantic City Hall of Famer Mark Abrams on the show, and we have Dave Mason from Bet Online. We're going to go down through all the fights, give you the sharp action, let you know who the sharp guys are on. Dave is going to give you the bet splits, the bet percentages, and then Gotham City is going to break down the fights. What's going on, Gotham City?
Well, you could see I got my Rich Eisen hat special on here, just in case you didn't know.
I can't see it because it works equipment so cheap.
I think it's about due time when people on large networks use information, they should at least shout you out.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Dave, what's going on down there in offshore?
All good, man. You know, middle of July, usually this time of year, everybody's on vacation. We're running a little skeleton crew, but this year with the NBA playoffs still going on, or the finals rather, and big UFC fight card and everything else, and all the good soccer going on, yeah, we're busy as all hell.
How big is this fight, this Poirier McGregor fight, handle-wise? Is it the biggest one you guys have had yet?
I can't answer that question until the smoke clears, probably either late tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't think it will be the biggest card ever. That was last year, the July card. I think it's UFC 251. I get these numbers mixed up, but it was the Usman Masvidal card. That card was the biggest one we've ever done. I mean, that card was absolutely jam-packed. Plus, it was in July, so there was absolutely nothing else to bet on, of course, because we were right smack dab in the middle of COVID. So that was the biggest card we've done overall. The biggest fight we ever did was Conor versus Khabib. This has a shot at breaking that. I don't think it will. Again, you know, there's just so much of this money comes in late. I really can't. I don't think it'll break it, but it has a shot.
That's great stuff. Now, before we start with the show, I want to introduce everyone to Mark Abrams, Atlantic City Hall of Fame boxing inductee. Mark, before we go off on this UFC stuff, you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself? So I know you've been doing a lot of great stuff on Follow the Action, but break down a little bit about what you're all about.
Well, I've been in the boxing business for 19 years as a PR guy and broadcaster. I own a big website called 15rounds.com. That's 15rounds.com, where we've all the latest up-to-date boxing news. We'll cover the UFC fight tonight off of TV. We'll do a round by round, and it's like I said, I've been doing it for 19 years. I've been really getting into the UFC. I'd say over the past 6-7 years, and like Dave said, this is a massive night, and to correlate it into my world, it feels like a Tyson night or a Mayweather night. So I'm very excited to watch it and listen to what these experts here have to say, and hopefully you can win some people some money.
All right, let's go to. I know the first fight was canceled for COVID, right, Batman?
Yeah, the first one was canceled. It was Hugh versus Alan Almadowski, and it was actually canceled, I think, just like 8 minutes ago. I mean, a real late cancellation due to COVID-19 and Almadowski's camp somehow. So pretty strange to cancel this late.
All right, let's go then to the next fight. Jerome Rivera versus Zumagulov. The current line at Bet Online is Zumagulov minus 300, takes back 240. The over and under on the rounds are over 2.5 juice to minus 220. Dave, is there any sharp action in this fight, and which way is the public betting?
No sharp action. No, the money's pretty split, pretty even, about 50-50 on the money, but the bets are on Rivera. 73% of the bet count is on Rivera. The total 2.5, like you said, over minus 220. The action's pretty 50-50 there. Nothing too sharp here at Bet Online.
Mark, you got any opinion on this fight?
No, but the next two I actually do have an opinion on. So,
well, I mean, personally, I know Rivera's got a 6-inch height advantage and reach advantage. I just don't think he's got the pop to beat the favorite here. I mean, you're laying a big number. If I had to bet the fight, gun to my head, I'd probably lay the favorite. But let me go to Batman. Let me go to the expert, the man that wagers big money on these fights. Batman, how do you break this fight down?
Yeah, Jerome Rivera actually used to fight up a weight class. He's coming down in weight for the first time. This is the first time that he's said he's had enough of a training camp to come down to weight, and he did make weight. But I got to tell you, in 2 of his first 3 UFC fights, he's been finished. And when you see guys that have been finished in 2 of the first 3, like he was finished, I don't think he has enough power for Zumagulov. I think Zumagulov dictates where the fight goes. I think that Zumagulov is a decent play here, and I think him to win by decision is a really nice little prop bet too as well.
Yeah, I think Rivera lost the 9 while Zumagulov beat him. So if you look at opponents, common opponents, I mean, he's a big favorite for a reason. All right, let's go up to the next fight. It's Jessica Ai versus Jennifer Meyer. Meyer's minus 190 favorite, take back 165. The over and under in rounds is over 2.5 juice at BetOnline minus 350. Dave, any sharp action here? Which way is the public betting? You getting a lot of tickets on this fight?
Nothing sharp here. BetOnline. The public is on my. Not surprising there. 60% of bets and 69% of the cash is on my. The under's getting bet. 90% of the bettors are on the under. Like you said, 2.5. That pays plus 275. So, it's not getting a ton of action. The other fights are definitely got a lot more action than this one, but every little bit counts.
Yeah, I know these women UFC fights are so unpredictable, especially for me. I can never get them right. You see a lot of upsets. Mark, you got any opinion on this fight?
Yeah, I got a slight lean on Maya. She's first of all, both these girls are veterans. I think she's going to fight a little bit more desperate tonight, and I don't know, I got a slight lean on her.
You laid the 2-1 on her, 190.
Yes.
All right, let's go to Batman. That Kansas City big. You got an opinion on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the women's fights, and again, it has to be very stark contrast for me to, want to lay some money on stuff like this. Jessica Ai is going to be the bigger girl in the cage. She's going to be 2 inches up. She's going to be 2 inches long too as well. The problem is that in her last 2 fights, she has looked not very good at all, and I mean, really almost disinterested. She was the #1 contender at one point and fought Valentina Shevchenko about 4 fights ago, and Valentina kind of beat her up pretty bad in that fight. And I will tell you, ever since then, Jessica Ai hasn't been the same. Where I am, there actually is some sharp coin on Jessica Ai because a lot of people believe that this fight is more of a coin flip fight. For me, I'm going to watch. I have a slight lean to Jennifer Maia in a decision, but just a lean for me here in this fight.
All right, let's go to the next fight. It's Jerkiss Duplessis versus Trenton Giles. Currently at BetOnline, Duplessis is a minus 120 favorite. The over and under in the rounds are over 2.5, basically minus 110, so it's not even juiced. Dave, any sharp action here?
Yeah, nothing too sharp here on this one either. We didn't take too much real big sharp money on this whole card yet, to tell you the truth. 57% of the bettors and 59% of the cash is on Duplessis, and 82% is on the under. It looks like under 2.5.
Mark, you got any opinion on this fight?
No, actually, I don't. Like I said, I thought we were going to go. Is the Akhmedov Tavares fight? Is that supposed to be on the early one or no?
Yeah, that's on the early card.
That's on the early card. Yeah, we can go to that.
Early.
Right.
Yeah, I think we skipped over, but okay.
Yeah, no problem. Before I go to Batman, I mean, when I look at this fight, you got Giles, who's been submitted 2 times. So, I mean, Duplessis is going to have to stub him out to win this fight. Both guys have 3 losses on the year. There is some sharp money in Duplessis. I mean, some sharp guys I know they did bet him. I just think Giles might be too much for him, man. I don't know. I kind of like Giles here. Batman, you like anything on this fight?
Yeah, this is one of those fights where you talk about experience, and it could make a really big difference in this fight. Trevin Giles is 5-2 in the UFC. He's had 7 fights. He's had some win over some pretty good competition. Duplessis has 1 fight. He beat Marcus Perez, who is a straight-ahead forward fighter that throws wild punches, that has no defense, and Trevin Giles is going to be more in and out. Now that Trevin Giles is the dog, I think there's actually some value in Trevin Giles here at plus 105 or plus 110.
All right, there you go. All right, let's go back to the fight that we skipped over. Brad Tavares versus Akhmedov. Dave, anything going on with this fight?
Yeah, action's pretty split. 52% of tickets and 54% of cash is on Tavares. Over under 62% of the action is on the over 2.5, which is currently minus 225.
All right, Mark, is this the fight you wanted to break down for the guys?
Yeah, no, I was just going by the numbers, and they're pretty even in the striking department. I like Akhmedov a little bit more because he if the fight gets to the ground, he's got a pretty good advantage with the numbers. So again, a decent lean to Akhmadev.
Tavares is a slight favorite here, minus 150 at that line. The rounds are at 2.5. The over is juiced at minus 225. You brought up a good point that Akhmadev is the better grappler. Tavares is the better striker. Man, this is, to me, it's a coin flip. I kind of like the dog. How about you, Batman?
Man, I like Brad Tavares here in this fight. Brad Tavares is going to be probably the more faster technical fighter on the feet. And, you know, I watched several fights of his, especially against like Elias Theodoro. I watched the Adesanya fight again and stuff like that. Brad Tavares grappling is really, 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 really underrated. And I think that if this fight stays on the feet, that Brad Tavares is gonna really wear on Akhmedov. I think the big thing here is cardio is a huge thing in these fights when you get these guys this skilled and this strong and muscular. Brad Tavares trains out of Extreme Couture, and I got to tell you, man, I think Brad Tavares is going to win this fight. I think the Brad Tavares money line is a great bet, and I think him to win by decision at plus $1.35 is a really good bet too as well.
So you think it goes the distance? I mean, he is a striker, and I mean, if it gets on the mat, he might be in trouble. But is there value in betting the knockout here?
I just don't see Brad finishing Akhmedov because they're so tough. I just see it going to a decision. I think going the distance at minus 220 is right where it's priced. I mean, if you look at Akhmedov, you can get him by decision for like plus 325. And I mean, that's just saying that the longer this fight goes, the more that Brad's going to be there. Brad's going to have the better movement, going to be in and out, transitions really well, transitions into grappling. I think Brad Tavares is the play here.
All right, great stuff, man. All right, let's go to the next one. Ryan Hall versus Topuria. Topuria's minus 220 on the money line. The total on the fight over 2.5 plus 105. The under's juice slightly at minus 135. Dave, anything going on?
We're exposed big. We have big exposure here. This is the first of our few big exposures. Ryan Hall, 78% of the bettors are on the Jiu-Jitsu Master there. 59% of the cash is on the other side. 79% under 2.5, which is currently minus 135. So, yeah, we'll be big fans of Topuria, without a doubt.
Is there anything on the total, Dave?
79% is on the under.
Wow, so everyone's expecting Hall and under. All right, let me go to Mark here. Mark, you got an opinion on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I very, very slight lean to Hall. I'm not really in love with this fight. Most of what I like is actually on the main show.
I got you. All right, Batman, you want to break this one down, man? I mean, it seems like a lot of people like the dog here. Do you like the dog?
Well, I understand why they like the dog because Ryan Hall's really showy with his jiu-jitsu. He's not afraid to throw, unique spinning back kicks. You've seen some wheel kicks, some front thrust kicks. You've seen different types of styles from him because he wants to go to the ground. So the more, unique styles he throws, and if somebody levels him and he's on the ground, then he's in your world. Ilia Topuria is a much better rounded fighter in this fight. There's no doubt. He does have grappling credentials. He does have jiu-jitsu credentials too as well. The problem is he only has 2 UFC fights. Now, if you go back to Ryan Hall, the level of competition he's fought has been very bad. He fought Darren Elkins, who only can, kind of wrestle and stayed way long in that fight and didn't really want to engage. He fought an old BJ Penn, an old Grade Maynard, an old Artem Lobov. And, I mean, he really hasn't fought any really good competition. I will tell you that if Ryan Hall pulls guard, Ilia Topuria is going to go down there and start throwing punches at him. There's no doubt about it because Topuria is not afraid of his jiu-jitsu game. I think Ilia Topuria is the side, and I got to tell you, I think he catches him and wins by knockout in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Wow, there you go. All right, let's go to the next fight on the card. I think this one's going to be a good fight. Nico versus Pereira. Pereira's currently a minus 180 favorite. Take back plus 155 at Bet Online. The total in the rounds are over 1.5, and the over juice at minus 180. So to me, I mean, just looking at the number, it looks like someone's going to sleep here. Dave, any sharp action on either fighter? Is there any sharp action on the total?
Nothing too sharp. Nothing really big significance here. 55%. When I say that, I mean there's sharp and then there's sharp. When I spit out our sharp action, it's the one that's really moving our numbers a bunch. The guys we got highlighted in red. But 55% of the bettors on Pereira and 81% of the cash on Pereira. So yeah, we're going to be big fans of Nico Price a little bit later.
Yeah, and just to explain to the audience now, so when you talk about the sharp guys, these are the guys that shape your number. These are the guys that move the line at Bet Online. These are the guys that you respect. So when they place that wager, you're going to move that fight 10, 20, 30%.
Yeah, I mean, not all sharp is created equal, right? And these are the guys that, we really respect. They're longtime winners in MMA, and pretty much anything when they bet, we respect it. They're moving our number. They're not only hitting us up. They just don't have an account with Bet Online. They have an account everywhere, so they're getting down everywhere. You know what I'm talking about. To get as much money down as possible. So, those are the sharpest of the sharp, the guys that really are shaping the market in MMA. So, when I say there's no sharp action, that's not really true. There's medium and there's two-sided and all sorts of stuff for guys to respect. But when I'm spitting out the sharp stuff, that's more the highly respected guys that are really, when they bet and it comes in on their ticker, we're moving right away.
And what kind of limits do you guys give on these fights so everyone out there listening knows how much they can actually get down?
It depends on the fight. The main card is more. We have, let's say, 20 grand on the Conor McGregor fight, then 10 grand on down. But we are, again, I mentioned before on your shows that we have that rebet functionality where you can bet it. Say it is 20 grand. You can bet another 20 grand after 61 seconds or an odds move, whichever comes first, over and over and over again. I mean, you can bet. So really the limits, there are no limits. I mean, on one of those Euro Cup 2020 games we had, some guy bet $260,000 or something on Belgium a week or two ago. He just kept, I forget what the limit was, like 25,000 or something. So he just kept betting it over and over and over again. So, for the one-time pop, it's 20 grand on tonight's main event. The other ones are from 10,000 on down to 5,000. But again, just keep hitting it for as much as you want, all you can eat.
All right, let's go to Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame inductee Mark Abrams. You got an opinion on this fight, Mark?
Oh, I think Price. I like Price a little bit. He's the bigger puncher, and they're pretty even on the ground with the submission. So I'm gonna take Price by knockout.
All right. Let's go to UFC boxing. Let's go to UFC expert Gotham City Big Batman. You got an opinion on this fight?
I agree with the Atlantic City Hall of Famer. This is one of my top 3 fights in the card. Nico Price is 14-4, fight Michel Pereira at 25-11. Both are kind of equal height. The interesting thing here is Nico Price has a 3.5 inch reach advantage. And a lot of people don't know that because Michel has real kind of lanky body and looks longer. But if you look at the metrics there, that's not the case. So Nico's going to be a little bit longer. Nico's competition level that he's fought in the UFC is significantly higher. His fight IQ is higher. He's 8-4 in 12 UFC fights. He's fought Jeff Neal, Tim Means, Vicente Luque, James Vick. He's had some really good wars in there and stuff like that. He won't be fazed by some of the, crazy stuff that Michel Pereira, throws at him and different things like that. I have a little different feeling, though. I think this fight goes the distance, and the Nico Price decision at plus 450 is begging to be bet.
I like it, man. I already took plus 450 on the decision. I think this fight's a coin flip. I think it's going to go the distance. I like Nico Price. I like him by decision. I agree with you 100%. Let's go to the next fight on the card. Dave Max Griffin versus Condit. Condit presently a 150 dog, plus 150 dog. Griffin's minus 175. The total on the rounds over 2.5 is juice. We're at 2-1, minus 205. Any action going on here with this fight, Dave?
60% of the bettors are on the veteran Condit, and 60% of the cash is on the other side. Max Griffin, 67% of the action is on over 2.5, which again is minus 205 currently.
Mark, any opinion? You lean on this fight? Any way you're looking to bet it?
I mean, Condit's been around so long. I remember him from the WEC days. Griffin's a guy, he's 17-8. You know what? I mean, like I said, I have no real feel for it, but if I had to, I'd go with Condit. Maybe get one last, a couple last hurrahs in there for him. Gotham
City Vig, are you firing on this fight?
Yeah, I like Max Griffin here. Max Griffin is 17-8, fighting Carlos Condit, who's 32-13. Both with a similar inch reach advantage. Condit 75.5, Griffin 76. Carlos Condit has had many more UFC fights. He was on a 5-fight losing streak, and he won his last 2 against kind of inferior, older competition. Max Griffin is significantly more physical, more stronger, will have better movement in this fight. And, Carlos Condit's takedown defense is somewhere like 37.5%, 38%. And that's why a lot of people are betting him, because he was the old school fighter in the WEC. I love to tune in to watch Carlos Condit. Natural born killer. He was wiping dudes out. I think this is Max Payne Griffin's time. I know why some of the percentage of bettors are on Carlos Condit. Max Griffin for me here, and I think by decision at plus $1.40 is another great bet.
All right, the next fight's kind of hard to bet. I mean, Sean O'Malley's a 10-1 favorite. The total's over and under 1.5 rounds. The under juice at -185, obviously. Dave, anything going on with this fight? Are they tying them into parlays, exotics? How are they betting this fight?
They're betting it. I mean, it's one of those lottery ticket systems, right? Whenever you got those big dogs. I mean, I'm surprised we're not exposed on this. Usually when you see odds like that, you're exposed on the dog big time. I could be fighting John Jones and I could be getting plus 600, and somehow 80% of the bettors would be betting me on that lottery ticket. Usually on the fights, we're always fans of those big favorites over the years. Floyd Mayweather, John Jones, no matter the fight, we usually need that big chalk. But it's 77% of bettors are on the dog. But that being said, on the flip side, 82% of cash is on O'Malley, which is a lot more than usual on these kind of fights. So we don't have a big decision as of now. When I saw those odds, I was like, oh god, we're gonna need O'Malley big. It's gonna be that everybody's lottery tickets. And yeah, people are parlaying at -1,000. They're adding that to their parlays, and just to get that little extra oomph to the parlays. 50-50 action on the over under 1.5. Over is currently plus 155, under minus 185. So the action once again there is 50-50.
Do you see a lot of correlated parlays like favorite and under here, or dog?
Nah, man, that's correlated. You let me know what book is taking that, and we're going to retire early, buddy.
I'm trying to sneak that in on you, man.
No, man. We deny all there, buddy.
I have a quick question for Gotham. Obviously, a couple fights before the loss, they were building Sean O'Malley to be maybe the next big star of the UFC. I know he's had the one fight since. What do you? And obviously, this is a later replacement. The odds are what they are. I think generally because of that. Do you see him as being that next star? Did that loss set him back so much to Chito Vera, or is this a way, obviously with a huge audience tonight, to make him look great, to get people talking about him again?
Well, the UFC has big business in Sean O'Malley, and Dana White knows it. And they're going to pick opponents for Sean O'Malley to make sure that he gets as many fights and as many pay-per-views as humanly possible here. The problem is his durability. I mean, you saw what happened to his knee against Marlon Chito Vera. I mean, that didn't look good. I mean, the competition he's fought, Wineland, an old Almeida. I mean, he hasn't had really good competition yet. He's exciting to watch. He's fun. He looks really, really tough. He's just really small, and he doesn't have a whole lot of muscle mass on him. And I think when you get, you haven't seen him obviously face a wrestler yet, and this kid tonight, I mean, if this kid stands at length for more than 1 second, he's lost his mind. He's going to get slept in the first 3 minutes of this fight. So this kid has to stay on the outside, use leg kicks, run in and grab him, trying to get him to the ground. There is no other option for this kid to win the fight. The problem is this Martinho, you look at his fights on the regional scene, he's losing to guys that don't have very much skill. And I cannot believe that Dana White put this up here. But again, this is the Sean O'Malley parade to make some money. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And he's on this show for a reason, because there's going to be a couple million people probably buying this thing tonight. And
he's a big draw.
Matchmaking
in the UFC, he's a big fan favorite.
This happens all the time in boxing, Mark. You can see the matchmaking where they put one guy who's so much far ahead of the other guy. I mean, it's just its own thing, ain't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. When I saw this, and like Gotham said, that they're putting this guy on who, on the regional level was suspect to begin with. I'm like, well, they're keeping this guy on the show to make him score, to make him look good, score an explosive finish, and people will be talking about him maybe part B after the main event on Monday morning around the water cooler.
Especially a card like tonight where there's going to be so many casual fans watching. I mean, the four of us can spot that, and probably most people listening on this right now can spot that. Like, there's just going to be so many people that are just, green when they watch it when there's a Conor McGregor fight, and that's it. And they'll be seeing this guy with his flashy hair and his flashy kicks, and he looks fun. He's a fun fighter to watch. He almost reminds me of a young Conor, and I think that's how they're going to bring UFC's plans to bring him along too, because they know he's going to sell tickets. Absolutely. He's going to be a cash cow as long as he wins. So, I mean, Conor McGregor early on, I mean, he fought some good fighters early on, but they were all stand-up guys. They kept him away from the dang wrestlers. And once he finally fought a wrestler, was that Mendez, right? I was there. And Mendez was off 2 weeks' notice, and he brought him down right away. And then he just gassed in the second round, and Conor blasted him. But, they just knew they wanted to hide Conor from wrestlers. They didn't want him fighting Frankie Edgar, and et cetera, early on in the 145 days. So that's, I think, what they're going to be doing here with O'Malley. I mean, he's talented, he's fun, he's got the look, he's got the gift of gab, which is 75% of the fight game sometimes, right? But we'll see. He'll blast this kid tonight, and oh my God, you see that guy with the crazy hair and the spinning kicks and all that stuff, and everybody thinks he's the next Conor. So we'll see. Yeah,
great marketing.
Absolutely.
But from a betting perspective, it's hard to bet the fight from a marketing angle. It's pure genius. All right, let's go to the next one. Who's next up? It's Aldana versus Kunitskaya. She's -120 favorite at Bet Online. The over and under is 2.5 rounds. The over is juiced at -300 or 325. Dave, anything going on with this fight? Any sharp money? How's the public betting it?
Yeah, we finally had some big sharp money on Aldana +110. Despite missing weight. 53% of cash is on Aldana. 57% of the bettors are on the other side. 90% of the bets are on the under 2.5. So yeah. Overall, it's pretty split, but we'll go up against those sharps, man. We'll go on the public side. That's what we're rooting for.
Squares win too. I mean, the marbles win too.
Of course. You're talking to one, man. What are you talking about?
I can't ever 50 women's fight there. I don't know. Let's go to Abrams. Abrams, you got anything going on here?
Yeah, I actually took a flyer on Aldana last night, and did you say she's a plus now, huh?
She's +100.
Yeah,
so almost a pick 'em. The sharp stuff we saw was about +110. So that's where that number moved down a bit.
Yeah, I got her. I got her as this very, 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 very tiny favorite last night. So
yeah,
when Mark bets the fight, it goes against him. It doesn't go with him. Gotham City Big, Batman, you're the man of the hour. What do you like here?
Well, I really liked Irene Aldana until she missed weight by not only a pound, but 3.5 pounds. And it gives you pause. And the reason why I wait until the weigh-ins is because, maybe you don't get the best number, but maybe you save some coin. You know what I mean? And for me, I still think Aldana is a good play. It's just less value for me. So this would be a much less, kind of percentage play for me and stuff like that. I think that Irene Aldana in this bigger cage, I think this is going to be kind of like a little metric you're going to see tonight. They're fighting in the big cage tonight. It's about 5 feet and kind of each side, which equates to a bigger cage. Irene Aldana has much better movement, significantly better striking. She does have some power. She does have 6 KOs to her record and stuff like that. Common opponent, she knocked out Ketlin Vieira, whereas Kunitskaya couldn't do that. So as long as there's no issue and Aldana just kind of maybe stopped knowing that she wasn't going to make weight and just stopped, the heavier she is, the harder, Yana has to work. So, there was a period where all these fighters were missing weight and they were winning the fight. And now it's kind of going the other way a little bit. I still lean Aldana, but it won't be nearly what it would have been originally, because 3.5 pounds is the Hall of Famer Mark Abrams can tell you it isn't good.
Yeah, well, that's the next question I was going to ask you, Mark. You've been around boxing for 20 years at almost every weigh-in. when you see a fighter, regardless of boxing or UFC, coming a little heavy, more times than not, they have trouble in the fight, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she got down to, I guess, what she missed by about 3.5 pounds. That's what she got down to. Who knows what she was 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 hours before. She may have been, and I know the way that these UFC fighters cut weight are a little bit different than the way the boxers do. She could have been 20, she may have lost 17, 18 pounds over a 24-hour period. So who knows what she was at.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
real quick question. We got people watching. We're streaming live on about 10 different platforms. We got people chiming in. I know this was our first question tonight, but AP Indy, who's watching on YouTube, for Dave, he wants to know, you can answer this question. Will this be your biggest handle of the year for UFC?
Of the year, yeah. Of all time, no. The card, it'll be the biggest of the year, most likely. We've had some big ones, but this should be of the year. But of all time, I don't think we're going to touch it. We're not going to touch that Usman Masvidal one last year.
And for everyone who's watching, keep the questions in. We'll do maybe a brief Q&A with some of the better ones with the guys when we're done breaking down the fights. Back to you, Steve.
All right, next fight is Tuivasa was Hardy. I think this fight's a coin flip. Tuivasa's a -125 favorite. The total's at 1.5. The over's juiced at -200, so they're expecting this to be a good one. Dave, how's the public betting this fight? The ticket percentages, and is there any real sharp money on either side?
Tuivasa by a little bit. 56% of bettors, 57% of cash is on Tuivasa. Everybody's expecting a quick knockout. You can't really argue about that when you look at these two guys. 60% of the action is on under 1.5, which is currently pays up +160. Nothing too sharp here at BetOnline.
Batman, you got a feeling on this one before we go back to Mark?
Yeah, Greg Hardy is 6'5", Tuivasa is 6'2". Hardy's reach is 80.5, and Tuivasa is 75. So it's a 5.5-inch reach advantage. What's really interesting here is I watch the weigh-ins, and I always love to see when they match up, not in the morning what they look like, but how they rehydrate, because the UFC weighs them in at like 12 o'clock in Vegas time, and then they do 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then 7 o'clock they have the ceremonial weigh-ins, if you will. And the difference in size of how much bigger Greg Hardy was and Tai Tuivasa was undeniable. He was 1.5 times the size. I think Greg Hardy is faster. I think he has better in and out movement. I think Ty's more of a true fighter and a brawler. I think Greg Hardy survives, and if he survives the first round, Tai Tuivasa is like 1-4 outside of the first round. So I think the value's on Greg Hardy, and Greg Hardy to win by decisions like +325. I think that's a fantastic prop play here in this fight.
Mark, I mean, Hardy is 3 inches tall. He's got 5-inch reach advantage. Do you feel the same way about this fight?
Yeah, I have not been impressed with Greg Hardy. Obviously, I'm a big NFL guy, and I've not been impressed with him so far as an MMA fighter. Tuivasa is a big hitter. I guess he reminds you, and I guess Gotham can maybe, those Samoan fighters like Mark Hunt. They pack a punch, and he's got to, look at his knockout percentage. I think Tuivasa an explosive knockout tonight.
Yeah, it's a competition thing for me. I mean, his strength of schedule here is absolutely horrendous. And any of the good fighters he's fought, he's lost to. The 3 good fighters, Marco Santos, Sergey Spivak, and Ivanov, he lost all 3 of them. The only 3 wins he has in the UFC are against very subpar competition. So, at a dog price, 5-inch reach advantage, 3-inch height advantage, and I think better movement. I mean, I think it's the right side.
And Steve, one of our guys who are chiming in, Chip Playa, I want the Philly Godfather, Greg Hardy versus Tua prediction.
There we go.
Well, if you look at the total, the total's 1.5, and the over's juice -200. So the longer this fight goes on, the better shot Hardy has of winning this fight. Man, give me the dog. I'll take the dog with the plus money here. I like the dog. I'm with Batman here. I think Hardy's got a great shot. And he brought up a great point that Tuivasa has fought the subpar, fighters here. Really no one that impressive. He hasn't beaten no one that impressive. Give me the dog here, plus the money. And I kind of like the over. Even though I'm not willing to lay 200 on it, but I like the over. All right, let's go to the next fight. And there's some real sharp money on this one. Dave, Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. Thompson's a minus 160 favorite. The total is 2.5. The over juice at minus 140 at Bet Online. What's going on with this fight and how's the action moving?
Yeah, well, Stevie Thompson, he opened minus 180. He's down to minus 157 now. I mean, he opened minus 180 a while ago. 60% of the cash and 55% of the bettors on Wonder Boy. The over-under 2.5. Choppy, about 53% of the actions on the over. Took a little bit of sharp action on the over, actually. So yeah, that's how we're shaping up here. It's going to be Stevie Thompson's always a fun guy to watch. Sometimes it's boring as hell. He's either boring as hell or highlight reel knockout. So hopefully we'll see the latter instead of some pitter patter 15-minute four fest.
Before I go to Mark to break down the fight, Dave, you got any promos? Anything you want to promote? Anything going on down there at Bet Online for all the guys listening out there if they want to find some money?
Of course, man. Well, first of all, we had the fastest payouts in the industry. If you like getting paid fast, we had the fastest payouts in the industry within minutes. Yeah, we have a 50% sign-up bonus. We have a 100% first-time crypto bonus. If you're into crypto, we have a 100% bonus for your crypto bonus, for your crypto deposit, rather. All sorts of reload bonus. I mean, we offer bonuses 24/7, 365. Got some big contests, huge contests for the NFL coming up. We actually have a $5,000 free contest for this UFC card. So get on over to betonline.ag and check it out.
When you say crypto bonus, what kind of crypto do you guys take?
Oh, all the big ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all the big ones. I think there's about 8 of them, but 90% of what comes in is Bitcoin. So,
all right, I just want to make this way the guys out there listening know. Mark, anyone you like in this fight? I mean, Stevie Thompson's pretty tough, man.
I've been going back and forth with this since they announced this fight. Very interesting fight. Thompson, obviously, with the stand up and karate and everything like that, he's a tremendous fighter. Burns was really on a roll until his title shot, and he looked like, for lack of a better term, he looked like shit in that fight. So. It all depends. I think this fight all depends what Gilbert Burns shows up. If he's the guy before the title fight, I think he's a better all around fighter. If he's a little off his game, I think it's Thompson. I'm going with Burns in that one.
You like Burns there? All right, Batman, you're the man. Who do you like in this one?
This is the fight that I've studied the most. Stephen Thompson is 18-4-1. Gilbert Burns is 19-4. Gilbert's about 5'9.5". Stephen Thompson's about 6 feet. The interesting thing here is that Stephen Thompson has a 75-inch reach advantage, and Gilbert Burns has a 71-inch reach advantage. So he's got 4 inches on Gilbert Burns. This is in the bigger ring. Stephen Thompson has way better movement metrically around the outside of the cage. The fight that sticks out to me the most is the fight that Dan Hooker fought Gilbert Burns. Dan Hooker is built exactly like Stephen Thompson. He had the exact same inch reach advantage. He stayed on the outside, and he smoked Gilbert Burns, okay? Gilbert Burns, every time he throws leg kicks, I watched 7 or 8 of his fights, he repeatedly throws the low leg kick from the back leg. Every time he does, both hands come down. He did it in the Dan Hooker fight, and Hooker smoked him. And I'm telling you, look at his record. I mean, he fought an old Tyron Woodley, an old Damian Maya, a really old and beat-up Gunnar Nelson. His record, again, he doesn't have a good win. Listen to Stephen Thompson. Beat Jeff Neal. Beat Vicente Luque. Beat Darren Till. Beat Jorge Masvidal. Those are his most recent fights. Stephen Thompson is going to smoke Gilbert Burns in this fight.
There you go. I kind of like Thompson too. I agree with you, man. Minus 160, I think it's kind of cheap.
Everybody's betting Stephen Thompson by decision, and I understand why, because they think he's a point fighter and he fights on the outside, and I understand that. I like him by KO. I think he's going to smoke Gilbert Burns, and I think he's going to end it in the first or second round.
He's going to put him to sleep quick. He's going to put him to sleep quick.
I think in the first or second round, he's got a great chance to finish this fight. I like Stephen Thompson.
Dave, what are the odds on a knockout down there at BetOnline on
Oh,
Saturday?
you'd have to give me a second here.
I know what they are. They're plus 250 by KO or TKO. I just looked it up on
There you
BetOnline.
go.
There you go. That reach advantage
right
too.
now. I'm betting that right now. All right, let's go to the main event here. Poirier versus McGregor, the trilogy. Poirier the slight favorite now. I think it flip-flopped, right, Dave? Didn't McGregor come out the favorite, and now Poirier's the favorite?
Yeah, McGregor opened minus 140, I believe. There's a little bouncing back and forth, but it's been about a pick 'em the whole time. 20 cents, 30 cents, either way. Yeah, I mean, a lot of action's coming on, and we already mentioned that it's going to be one of the biggest bet fights in the history of BetOnline. Maybe the biggest bet fight in the history of BetOnline. Current odds are what, -1. So it's coming back down. Poirier's -129. Take back on Connor's plus 109. Did get some sharp action on Poirier at about the -110, right around -110. Public's on Connor, not as much as I thought it'd be, but it's still on Connor. We're going to need Poirier without a doubt tonight. 62% of the bettors, 54% of the cash is on McGregor. 76% is on the over, currently over 2.5 plus 107. Like I said, some sharp on Poirier at -110.
All right, now in a fight like this, do you ever get sharp opposition on both sides? Two sharp guys battling it out, and then how do you adjust your line accordingly?
It's just right in the middle. Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of two-way sharp on it. You know what it's all. Sharps aren't betting fighters; they're not betting teams; they're betting numbers. So, the sharp might take Poirier at -110, but Conor McGregor plus 125 or something, right? It's all about, when it comes down to it, it's all about the number. Any fighter, any team is a potential sharp side as long as you have the right number next to their name. So yeah, not particular on this fight. There's some bettors that were betting McGregor when it was up a little bit higher, without a doubt, but not like I said, not that 5-star like market moving sharp stuff that really gets our guys typing on the keyboard real fast.
And what kind of limits will you take on this fight? It's almost a drop 50 dimes or 100 dimes in the fight. You take that kind of
I mean, well, they're right now 20. But like I said, you can bet that again in 61 seconds or after odds move. Just keep betting it over and over and over again. So if you want to bet $100,000, it'll take you 5 minutes to do it. So bring it on.
Mark, you got any opinion on this big fight here, or what?
Well, who doesn't? I mean, it's the biggest thing going tonight. Obviously, I'm a boxing guy, and in boxing, and Steve will attest to this, a guy gets knocked out and gets beat the F up, and then comes right back to that same fiery house. It's fresh in his mind. Granted, McGregor, he knocked out Poirier in under round years and years ago. Not a fresh wound. This is a fresh wound. Is this enough time to go to be able to change the leg kicks that were so prevalent in that first fight? I don't know. So using my boxing analogy, I'm going right back to Dustin Poirier tonight.
There you go.
Then again, we see the thing up on the screen. McGregor, from our guy Jacob Phillips, McGregor may have bigger balls than the Philly Godfather after talking about Dustin's wife the way he did.
I mean, look, we've been around boxing a long time, and usually the hungrier man is the more dangerous animal in the ring, And McGregor made all that money, and when he did, he just hasn't been the same since. I mean, what is he, 3 in his last 6 fights? He's looked flat. He's more Hollywood than UFC anymore. This one's tough, man. Let me go to Batman. Batman, how are you going to break down this fight?
Dustin Poirier has a much better head coach, team camp, and I know everybody doesn't believe that makes a difference. I'm here to tell you. They believe that Conor McGregor is going to make the adjustment for leg kicks. And if you looked, there was also some clinching going on, and people don't realize Dustin Poirier's grappling, prowess. Dustin Poirier is not going to stand up in front of Conor McGregor for hopefully very long. I mean, Conor McGregor is quick twitch. He's fast. He has great timing. He's a Ferrari. He comes out of the gate. Look at some of the fights he's ended so fast because these fighters went after him. They went dead straight after him. Dustin Poirier is not going to come dead straight after him. He's going to get the feel for the fight, and then I think he's going to clinch him and wear him out. And then in the mid rounds, I think McGregor's going to wear out, and I think he's going to take him down. And I think Dustin Poirier is going to strangle him today. There is a big thing that when you beat a guy by KO and you can sub him too as well, there is no doubt who's better. I think you're going to see Dustin Poirier win by submission in this fight. I think he's going to rear naked choke him. I think when the pressure gets turned up, you've seen time and time and time again, Conor McGregor does not like pressure. And Dustin is the most durable guy, I think, in my opinion, in the UFC. So if Conor doesn't get a flash knockout in the first few minutes of this fight, this is Dustin Poirier's fight all day long. And there was an amazing quote that you guys will all appreciate that I saw online, and I won't mention his name, but it was a friend of the Philly Godfathers. And it was from Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
I was just thinking that.
And he said, it's hard to get out of bed at 5 a.m. and do road work when you're wearing silk pajamas. Maybe the best quote I saw online all day.
Quick question I have for you. I was thinking about this. I mean, and maybe I'm wrong. Eddie Alvarez win was a good win. The Aldo win, which was a 13-second thing. I mean, that's kind of a fluke thing. I'm equating McGregor to being the modern day Mike Tyson. When you go inside his record, in the big opportunities. I mean, Nate Diaz. I know losses don't mean as much as they do in boxing. At the end of the day, Nate Diaz is a slew of losses on his record. Go inside McGregor's record. What's that standout victory? Maybe beside Aldo and Alvarez.
I completely agree with you. And that's where hype builds up. And that's where Dave Mason wants to hear it. He wants to see the UFC keep doing this to these guys, right? He loves it. He wants everybody to come in and back Conor McGregor because their guys know that Dustin Poirier should be the favorite in this fight and that Dustin Poirier should win this fight a majority of the time. And that's why they make sport books. I agree.
So are you betting this fight max limits, Batman? Are you laying the 130? Are you taking this?
Yeah, I played it last night. I got it at $1.25. I think 130 is fine. I like the submission prop too as well. To get a little fancy, I really like the submission in either round 2 or 3, and it's plus 2,000 on each of them. The submission props or the props are obviously like quarter bets and stuff, but still, you've seen on the timeline there that we've hit several of these, and I think it's a great value because everybody's betting, Dustin to win or Conor to win by KO. Nobody's betting submission. And I'll tell you, Conor gives up his back so many times under pressure, and if Dustin clinches him and takes him to the ground, he's going to look to choke him out. And you saw what Khabib did to him. Khabib beat him, just remember, by neck crank, not rear naked. And Conor quit. He tapped to that. So
does it worry you at all that Conor is so focused for this fight? He left his family overseas. He looks like he's in tip-top shape. He looks like he's got a different feel to him this time around. I mean, does that worry you at all or not?
I think the metrics are so far in Dustin Poirier's favor that it doesn't. I mean, that's what I expected. And there was a great article written by Jorge Masvidal a couple of days ago. And he was asked to describe Dustin Poirier's training camp. And Jorge's been with him for multiple years. He's in his training camp every time. Jorge Masvidal said, in quote, "I have never seen Dustin Poirier come into the first day of training camp in the shape that he was, and it wasn't even close. He was in the greatest shape we've ever seen him, even for all of his fights." That was the quote from Jorge Masvidal. And if you go back and watch his training videos, Dustin's not sleeping on his laurels. He's a dog. He's a fighter. He's 1-1. He knows he took this fight where he could have had the championship belt, shot. He didn't want that. He wanted Conor one more time to prove that he was better because he knows he is better in this fight.
Well, there you go there, man. I'm early on, I like McGregor, and I started thinking about it, start breaking down the opponents he's had over recent years. He's become more Hollywood than UFC, where Dustin Poirier is a real UFC, nonstop, 7 days a week animal. I flip-flopped. I'm on Poirier now. I took the submission like you told me, Batman. I bet him straight up. I think he wins the fight. Dave, anything you want to add before we wrap up the show?
Dave, can you hear us?
I think we lost him.
Just in time, right? Yeah. Well, let me say a couple things about BetOnline.ag. They are super responsive in payouts. If you watch all the people send messages to Dave about how quick they get, responses, they're all help. There's no issues with that. They have amazing lines. They have tons of odds on there. I mean, they have so many more props and odds than all these other sites. I mean, if you're looking to do something, BetOnline.ag is absolutely a phenomenal shop.
We got Dave. We got Dave back. We had some feedback, so I had him on mute. He's back.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the kind words there, Batman. That's very nice and true though. But we put a lot of energy in MMA, and I've been a huge fan of UFC since UFC 1. I've been watching it. So, even early on when the shareholders and some of the directors, it's a secondary, it's a tertiary sport, I was always hammering it. And then last year, we had an opportunity, another book he used to do great with MMA. They really didn't want that U.S. action anymore. That's when we really upped our game with props. And, the action we get on these props is incredible. I think we're the originators for MMA now. Our odds open before any other book. We offer all these cards all across the world and Russia and all these other places. I'm a huge MMA fan, but I don't even know these fighters. But I have a lot of followers on Twitter that always ask me for these cards, so we do our best to get them up. And I just wanted to hammer home on McGregor too, and I agree with everything you guys are saying about him. He's a great fighter. He's a Hall of Famer. What he did for the sport's incredible. But in my book, he was an overrated fighter too. They strung him along. They hit him from wrestlers. But another thing I don't think you guys touched on was the mind games. He used to be able to get in the fighters' heads better than anybody. And in the fight game, and I'm preaching to the choir on this podcast, but that is so important in the fight game. We know that there's mind games. That's not working on Poirier now. That's not working on the Diaz's and that kind of stuff. It worked on Jose Aldo. When he fought Jose Aldo, man, Aldo was spooked. He couldn't take all that, the press conferences and all that stuff. He got in that ring. He was so jittery. I love Eddie Alvarez, man. He's a legend. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. But, I think going into that fight, Eddie Alvarez was a little spooky. This guy, too much of that pressure just got built up, and he went in there and was a deer in headlights. And I would love to see that fight over and over again another time with Eddie being more calm. But that's not happening anymore. I mean, he was talking all that junk at that press conference the other day, and I found it comical. His trash talk used to be the best in the sport. Then he turned into Mr. Nice Guy. Then the other day, he's just yelling and cursing, trying to talk trash. It was just so forced and phony. I thought, the old Connor's back. He has fire in his belly. He's like, this is BS. This is phony, man. Dustin Poirier just sitting there in his Hawaiian shirt, just smiling at it. Didn't care about the trash talk or talking about his wife, etc. So I think that's a big tell as well that Connor's just not getting in the mind of these fighters anymore either. They know he's not Superman.
I agree.
Well, I guess my last question for Batman, if he loses, say in the way you think he's going to lose, is the mystique, the aura, everything? I mean, I guess that Nate Diaz fight is there, but what else?
Jorge Masvidal. That's sorry to cut you off, but that fight. That's the thing with Matt. The noobs come out. It'll be an event, and I think this is how I write the script if I was in charge. If he loses tonight, he fights Nate Diaz. He'll probably win that fight. Then fight Jorge Masvidal. That fight will sell more than any fight in the history of UFC.
I agree.
I don't care what their recent records are, losing streaks. You're talking about hype. And again, 75% of the hype game or the fight game is about hype. It's not just talent, it's hype. That fight would sell. It would be incredible. It would be entertaining. Those guys would go at it. It wouldn't be boring. So off to you, Batman. That's how I would write the script if Conor loses tonight.
Honestly, I think it depends on how he loses tonight. If he loses and he gets subbed out, in the last round, and it's an even fight, I think the mystique is still there. Now, if he goes in there and gets knocked out in the first round, that really hurts him moving forward. But let me go to Batman. What do you think about that?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
No, what I said is I think it depends on how McGregor wins or loses this fight. If it's a close fight and he gets subbed out in the last round, and he's been fighting, his ass off the whole fight. I think he keeps moving on and fighting anyone he wants. But if he goes in there and gets knocked out in the first or second round, I think it kind of changes the dynamics on which way his direction goes.
Yeah, I think it does too as well. I think I think Dustin's going to be, real cautious and try to wear him out a little bit and stuff like that. So I think, you'll see it get to, 2, 3, 4 would be my hope. I hope there's nothing early. I want to see this last a little bit and watch this, because the skill Dustin Poirier possesses is significantly better than Conor. It doesn't mean that he can't get snapped in the first round and lose. He absolutely can. But, it's like we talked about the other day. You're betting on a guy to snipe him in the first 5 minutes. And if you look at the durability of Dustin Poirier, it might be the best in the UFC. So, there's a chance, but that chance isn't probably fabulous. And Dustin's skills are far superior to what Conor McGregor brings to the cage.
Yeah, and I know in the boxing game, anytime, I was either managing a fighter or helping a fighter train, I always like the southpaws. They always had a slight edge over the conventional fighter because of the angles, the way those punches are coming in. You kind of make a one-dimensional fighter. You take away his left hook because of the angle of your shots. But with that said, I think McGregor has lost a step, and he's not the same McGregor. So he had a slight edge against a lot of these guys. His reach advantage, his southpaw stance, where in this fight against Poirier, I think all of his edge has diminished. And I think he's in trouble here. I think he's in serious trouble. Before we go, Dave, you want to tell everyone to find you on Twitter?
At Dave Mason BOL. Come on over and follow me. I'll be having all sorts of stats throughout the fight, who we need, and I'll be drinking during the fight, so I might get a little. I might have some fun out there. We'll see. I'm going to the bar, and there's always some characters there. Some bunch of bojos at this bar.
Cheers,
after this, so I'll have one for everybody and get lit.
Batman, you want to tell everyone where to find you on Twitter?
Yeah, it's Gotham City Big, and we do kind of all sports and look for some good stuff. And the last couple of months have maybe been incredible from what we've done, and looking forward to the future. Thanks for letting me be on the show. Thanks for asking me to be, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you.
My honor.
Hall of Fame credentials. It's awesome. Dave Mason, you're the best, and to the best metric player in the world, and the best future player ever, Philly Godfather. Thanks again.
What about Rich Eisen talking about the Browns and the Washington football team in the Super Bowl? That's pretty funny, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's no way he came up with that on his own. There's no way.
Yeah, I've heard that from some...
right here is for Rich Eisen tonight. If somehow he can see it.
That's good stuff. Mark, you want to tell everyone where to find you on Twitter?
At M. Abrams Boxing, see a lot of my interviews, videos, stories that go to my website, 15rounds.com. That's 15rounds.com. All the latest boxing news up to the minute, all the fight results. You need to know what's going on with Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Spence, and Pacquiao. A lot of great fights coming up. And like I said, mabrams.com.
Thanks for watching, guys.
M. Abrams Boxing on Twitter.
Thanks for everyone coming on, and good luck tonight, man.
Thank you. And we'll see everyone soon. Thank you.